Oh, so this wasn't the take.
It was a take.
The take. You can make
The art
do.
group.
I like your shop no further.
Oh, would you like some?
Yeah.
Because Penny did the Penny Eyes.
Did she?
Ian did the drawing,
Yeah.
but it's more in red.
Here we are going down to Shelters for the Dave Chandler Sketching School with a K.
Are we having a nice time so far?
Absolutely, yeah. What a venue. Yeah. Yes, that's a desideratum, isn't it? Amongst artists and sketchers, is to be able to draw loosely and expressively and not be hooked on reality. Yeah?
That
How do
sounds
you do
like
that?
a good plan.
How do you do that? How do you get unhooked 10 times? Yeah? And if you keep on, what would also be really great is if we can actually also have, at some point or other, scans or JPEGs or copies of everything that you've done so that we can put it on a little page. Yeah? Put it all together and just put it on the website.
Everything.
Oh, well, no, but we scanned a lot of the last stuff. We'll take photographs of it. But then you see, the thing about that is that what you do, if you do that though, and you put even some of the kind of ropey stuff up, then other people will look at it and say, oh, actually, I could do that. I could be part of that group. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's all absolutely bloody wonderful, it's like saying, you can't come in here, we're so good. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's quite nice to have stuff that, if you can bear it, that you actually might not like very much. You don't know what other people are going to think of it. You just don't know. You know, you might not like it, but someone else might like it. That happens over, and it's so frustrating, that is. You know.
Oh, really? So how old is that red one?
1933.
Oh.
She's got a thing called an Austin 7 Harrow, which is like a soft
yeah.
top. You keep on. 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 It's a bit like a botanical illustrator's problem now. Botanical artists have to have every colour under the sun because they can't mix them.
Can't they? Is that true?
No, you just, if you want to
they're
actually
just so
get the,
pure.
if you want to get the colour of a certain flower,
Oh, I see.
you can't mix it. You've got to just have that colour.
Hyacinth blue.
Yeah, you just need that colour. They don't.
You mean
they
you're
have-
talking about pure pigment?
They have dozens and dozens and dozens of colours, whereas I just mix mine. I just kind of
Yeah.
make it up as I go along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would have thought. So there's the difference between an
brilliant. That's
arty
brilliant.
botanical illustrator and
Yeah,
a
because
and
you've
a
got to have
sort
the
of-
colour right.
The
Yeah.
botanical artist up there. Stuff is quite good.
Yeah.
In the gallery.
No,
Oh yeah,
No,
yeah,
you've got to have the colour just right. That's the thing.
yeah, because it has to be
Yeah, no, I haven't got.
almost like medical
Yeah.
illustrator.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. Because Kew Gardens still use them, don't they? They
Do
still
they?
Yeah,
use
yeah.
botanical illustrators rather than photographs.
Rather than a photograph,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because they can actually describe more and explain more. Well.
So when he, so when the,
Sheltering from the rain hasn't quite arrived yet.
It's like for a tramps convention, really.
Well, you know, my attitude with that colour would be, when it comes to this, I'd be thinking,
Finished, you done the whole of Lyme Regis now.
But there's only bits I want to draw, and then the rest I want to eat, and then meet you and make sure you're...
but I got proportions of that bit wrong. So that was, so I was trying. That was a propelling pencil. Austin 7.
Yeah.
That was a propelling pencil. Then I went to a 2B ordinary pencil. Then back to the propelling pencil. And then I thought I'd try, you know, little ink pencil. So that was down next to where you were all sat at Mill Lane. So divergent thinking. The experiment that was done about divergent thinking was they took a group. They call it a cohort, don't they? When they're doing experiments, it's a cohort of people that they experimented on to see whether or not they were actually how divergent they were in their thinking. In other words, how not necessarily creative, but whether or not they were able to look at all sorts of kinds of different ramifications of an issue. So, like an example of how you would test for divergent thinking would be list the number of uses there could be for a paperclip.
Yes.
Think of the number of different ways you could use a paperclip. So that's a way of thinking. How can we use the paperclip in all sorts of creative, interesting ways? You know, what kind of things could we do with it, rather than just fasten 2 bits of paper together with it? Is that anything else you could do with it? And divergent thinkers would say things like, well, what if the paperclip is 200 feet high and was made of rubber? Do you know what I mean? They're thinking all the way around the subject in this way. Anyway, the divergent thinkers they tested were 2 years old. A whole bunch of them, right? So, after their test, what they found when they analysed their results were that 90% of the 2-year-olds were divergent thinkers. 90% genius level divergent thinkers. Right? They tested them again when they were like 7. Down to 40. And then by the time they were 12, then like 2%, hardly any. And then that's what he said. That's what the education system does, and it encourages people not to think in that way. That's the problem.
They must all be the same.
Well, it's conformity.
Well, because you know you're not going to pass your exam if you don't.
you've got to get the right answer.
Around with your children to different countries. I don't think you can get a better every year.
I think you're absolutely right.
You know, if you
And yet, if you take your kids out of school to do that, they fine you.
Oh yes. Well, I
Because it's
suppose
not-
you don't put them in the first place.
You only have to look at the way the mark schemes are orientated. You
Yeah.
have to
Because
give
everybody knows
Yeah.
the right answer.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you do. The thing is, nowadays you do tick a box, don't you? At least in our